up quick at about noon. Just thought that I had to be in Compton soon. I gotta get...
The word cake is derived from the old Viking word spelled and pronounced caca. Hi, I'm Josh Armstrong, and today I'm going to be showing you one of the most simple and easy ways that I can think of to make a delicious vanilla cake. Now the recipe I'm going to show you is my grandmother's old recipe, and originally made from scratch, I have modified it for this video and its purposes to make it easy and simple that anyone can understand in the easy steps that I'll show you. So, now let's get on to what you're going to need for this cake. So first, you're going to need a 2-inch deep pan to put the cake batter in and bake the cake. Next, you're going to need some canola oil for spraying purposes. I like to use Centrella because they've been good since 1917. Next, you're going to need some all-purpose flour. We'll get to that a little bit later and what it's used for. Again, any brand of all-purpose flour is going to be just fine. I'm just using Pillsbury. You're also going to need some eggs. Grade A are the best. You're also going to need some vanilla jello. You're going to need some Crisco vegetable oil, a measuring cup, some Duncan Hines creamy frosting, and, of course, a mixer.
Before the day begins, before my mother starts bitching about my friends, about to go and damn near when...
So now, let's get to the making of this cake. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to take our canola oil and we're going to spray the inside of the pan. Now when you do this, you're going to want a thin layer around the pan. This is going to keep it from sticking, but it's also going to help your flour, which we're going to use next. It's going to help your flour connect to the pan, which is really going to help the sticking process. So just take some flour, you don't want a whole lot, and kind of put it in there. And then slowly start to kind of beat it around in the pan until you get it into all the places. So the next thing we're going to do is preheat our oven, so that way when we're done mixing the batter together, we can just put it into the pan and get right to the baking. So what you're going to do is you're going to bake it and preheat it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So while that begins, we'll go ahead and begin making the key ingredient to a cake, the batter. We're going to take our Duncan Hines classic yellow cake mix, and we're just going to take the bag out here. Oh, it's open. That's convenient. And we're just going to pour it directly into the bag. The entire bag, right there, in case you were wondering. Next, we'll put our vanilla jello into the bowl as well, the whole thing. In there. Make sure you get the whole package out because I don't want to leave anything behind. You know? Okay. Next, what we're going to want to add is some liquid ingredients. So first, we're going to take a half cup of water. I use Munster tap water for this. You can use just about anything though. And we went way past half a cup. And a little bit less. Alright, so when you got your water done, just go ahead and pour it directly into there. Next, we'll take our Crisco vegetable oil, and this you also need a half a cup of. So we'll pour that in there as well. And with the Crisco vegetable oil, you just put it right there into the pan. And now the next ingredient that's going to be going into the cup is some milk. But the thing is, I just had vegetable oil inside of the measuring cup. So you don't want to put milk on top of vegetable oil, so what we're going to do is rinse out this cup. So that's one of the key things to remember is make sure that it's clean when you're going from substances other than water to another substance other than water. So again, half a cup of milk, and that as well will just go straight into the mixing bowl. And once we have done this, we're going to go ahead and crack 3 more eggs. I already had an egg in there to begin with. That was kind of my fault. So in the past, I've had some problems with keeping the eggshell out of the mixing batter So I came up with an intricate way on how to get the egg to get the yolk in there and not the eggshell. So what you're going to do is put it on the table like so. And what you're going to want to do is take your hand and with some pretty brute force, smash the egg on the table. That way you can move that out. Alright, so now that you got the egg yolk picked up, you can go ahead and just put it into the bowl. And we're going to do the same thing with 2 more eggs, and we'll come back when I'm done with it. So once you got all 4 of your eggs in there, we're going to go ahead and come around to this side, and you're just going to start on a low speed until it gets through the next, kind of increasing it just a little bit. Just start mixing up your ingredients together until the batter has become as smooth and as fine and as less chunky as it possibly can. So we have a nice smooth baked cake batter that's ready. So now that we've reached this good even consistency, we'll go ahead and stop the blender, and we can pretty much just begin to pour. You'll let that drain out a little bit. Take these out of here because they're not going to be needed anymore. Set them on a paper plate and nice and make sure this is all mixed up nice and good. Also set this down here, and then we'll take our bowl and proceed to pour our batter into our bowl. And just make sure it gets kind of evened out amongst the pan, and we'll spread it out with a spatula, of course, when we're done pouring it. So pretty much you're going to use a spatula to get whatever remainder you can out. You don't need to have every single little drop out of there, but get most of it out that you can. And when you're done with the bowl, we'll just put it back here now. And then we'll spread this out amongst the pan here. And get it nice and spread out so it covers the whole pan, and it'll rise as it bakes, which will be the next step, which we'll come back to after I'm done spreading this here cake. The oven is now prepped and ready. So, we're going to open her up, take our smoothened and crisp cake batter, and we're going to slide it into the oven. We'll set a timer for 30 minutes, and when this timer is up, I will come back to you. So now that our cake's been baking for around 27 minutes, we're going to go ahead and pull it out and do a little thing called the toothpick test. So we're going to pull this here tray out just a teeny bit. We're going to come over here and get our toothpick, and what you want to do is stick the toothpick down into it, pull it out, and if the toothpick is relatively clean, that means that the inner portions of the cake have baked and it's pretty much ready for us. I'm going to give it a little bit more time to cook, and we'll be right back when it's finished. So now that the cake has reached a cool temperature, we're going to go ahead and start putting the frosting on. So you can see I've already begun to try to kind of hasten the process up a bit, but frosting a cake is really very simple. You'll just need a butter knife and some frosting. Of course, your cake. And what you do is you just take a good amount and you plop it down there and you just kind of spread it out evenly amongst the cake. So now that we've finished frosting the cake, we're going to go ahead and just cut it up so we can eat it. So now this is pretty much the finished project. It's a very, very simple. If you follow these steps, it shouldn't come out wrong in any way. But one of the best things about this cake, I think, is if, let's say you're eating and you feel like, you take a bite and you feel like, I really don't want this anymore. Well, if you're full and you want to come back to it later, you can really just stick it there and come back to it another time and finish eating, okay? It's a couple days later, alright, now I'm hungry. So today we learned how to make a delicious vanilla cake. We went over all the materials that you're going to need, and I went over all the steps that you will need to take to make this cake. I also along the way gave you some helpful tips that will hopefully make your cake baking and
Cruising down the street in my 6'4", jocking the bitches, slapping the hoes. Went to the park to get the scoop. Knuckleheads out there, cold shooting some hoops. A car pulls up, who can it be? A fresh El Camino rolling Kilo G. He rolled down his window and he started to say, it's all about making that GTA. Cause the boys in the hood are always hard. They come talking that trash, we'll